Choosing Chaos, Solo Motherhood by Choice, the podcast for women who are done waiting for the one and ready to become the parent on their own damn terms. We're talking fertility, pregnancy, emotional chaos, and the village that it takes to raise a kid. Sometimes you're crying in the bathtub. Sometimes you're crying because your toddler bit you. And sometimes you cry because you chose all of this. Welcome to motherhood, solo style. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Choosing Chaos, Solo Motherhood by Choice. I am your host, Laura. I know a lot of you are curious to know a little bit more about the person behind this microphone, the one who's usually asking the questions. So today, we're doing something a little bit different, something fun. I've handed over hosting duties to the amazing Kristen Caples for a special Flip the Script episode. She'll be asking me some questions about my own journey, experiences, and even what chaos looks like in my life. I'm excited and honestly a little bit nervous to be on the other side of the conversation. So let's dive in. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You're back in Denver.
I am for today. And then last week I was in Atlanta. Next week I'll be in New York City. So just.
Jeez, girl. You take the twins everywhere.
No, they didn't come to Atlanta.
Oh.
And then, no, they're not coming to New York. But normally I do take
bummer.
them. It's.
Yeah.
No, not this
That's
time.
hard to be away from them, though, I'm sure.
It's fun for a night. And then I'm like, okay, where are you guys? It's too quiet.
I miss you. Yeah, it's too quiet. You're not getting bounced on. I don't know if your son's that way, but Weston is like constantly like climbing on me.
Yeah. If I'm sitting somewhere, they'll lay on my legs and they like me to like kick my legs up. So I get a good quad workout, but it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sort of your abs too at the same time.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't have those anymore, but.
Yeah, same. Those went away. No,
Someday they'll come back, right?
Maybe at this point I'm too old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you ready for this?
I think so.
Well, I'm ready when you are.
Okay.
But welcome to Choosing Chaos, Kristen. Welcome back, I should say.
Ooh, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, of course. We're doing a Flip the Script per the end of our last episode with Kristen. She's going to be taking over as our host this week and asking me some questions. Whenever you're ready, Kristen, we can go ahead and dive in.
Oh gosh, this is more nerve-wracking than when you were asking me questions, but
See, now I'm nervous.
No, it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. I wanted to start with, I did go back when we decided to do this and made sure that I listened to, I haven't listened to all the episodes, but most of them. And in, I think, your second episode, you talk about your path to parenthood, to motherhood. If you haven't listened, or for the folks who haven't listened to that, would you share your story? High level Reader's Digest.
Yeah.
We're going to dig deeper, but...
we're getting deep. Okay. Yeah. As an adult, I made a pact to myself that if I weren't married by the time I was 38, then I would choose to have a baby on my own in whatever form that looked like. At 35, I think it was 36, I had met somebody. We had been really good friends, and I thought that that person was going to be my person. I was going to marry him. Turned out things looked a lot differently, especially from his perspective, but not going down that rabbit hole too deep. After I started to really heal from the pain of that relationship, I had seen a friend post something on Instagram about becoming a single mom by choice. And that just like kicked me in the ass to want to pursue this dream of really becoming a single mom, which I really didn't know what it was until I had asked her a bunch of questions about it. But that's what really drove me into this path of life. And that's where we're at.
Yeah, I think your story is very similar to mine in that we have this idea in our heads that when we hit a certain age, we're going to make a decision either way, right? Like have kids or not, regardless of whether or not there's a partner. But you like think that you're alone. And then you learn about single moms or solo moms by choice, and there's a lot of us. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say to your point about like thinking I was alone, I had most of my life been like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not like good enough or attractive enough? Or is there something about me that wasn't worthy of a relationship? And I did feel alone in a lot of that. I felt 100% on an island by myself because everybody around me was finding relationships so easily. And then to learn through my friend who became a single mom by choice that there is this huge sea of women out there who have taken this path in life. It is inspiring.
Yeah. And we'll talk about this a little bit more, 'cause I have some questions about like financial and practical readiness. But I think both of us work in sort of like corporate America. So do you think like for you was some of that where it was like career first and then family, or how did your career play out in your decision making process?
Yeah, I think I've been very career driven most of my life, especially after losing my job in marketing back in 2010. And then, going back to school and getting my master's and then really taking this whole road in technology to build out my career. So that put me in a career focused mentality where that's where I wanted to money, right? Money and career drove me really.
Yeah.
And I never really thought I was financially stable enough to become a single mom. I don't, is anybody ever financially
Yeah,
ready,
right.
honestly, to become a parent, let alone a single mom? But I think the big part of my decision came from understanding that we have $50,000 lifetime support through my work to use towards any sort of fertility support, whether that be embryos, IVF, IUI, surrogacy, adoption, whatever that looks like. We have that money available to us. And I think knowing that really pushed me more towards, okay, well, if I have to do IVF, I don't have to pay as much out of pocket, right? Where I didn't have to go that route, but still, it helped knowing that I had that money there to support
Yeah.
this decision.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's definitely the foundation to build from. Whatever that looks like is the pivot point, right? Of like, yes, I can do this, or no, I cannot. And it might not
Right.
be the level that you hope it to be. Like, I wish I had $1 million saved, of course, but I don't
Right.
have that much. But I have this much, and it is doable.
Right.
But really, to start, this is the foundation of where I set the questions because I am new to this whole hosting thing. Is looking
You're
back.
doing great.
Oh, thanks. I'm trying. I'm trying. From where you are now, what's been the biggest surprise about how your life shifted once becoming a mom?
Oh, wow, you're getting deep with the questions already. I think knowing how much love I have for another human being and how much I'm capable of loving another human being. Like it is, there's no way of describing that feeling. And I can say I've never felt a love like this before. I would do anything, and I'm sure you feel very similarly. Is like I would cut somebody if they were to hurt my child, which I almost did last week at daycare. But anyway, um, so like that has been one of the biggest surprises for me in becoming a mom.
Yeah, everyone talks about you don't understand how much you love a child until you have one, and it's so
Yeah,
true. Like, I have a dog and he's my OG, but then there are babies, and it's just different.
yeah, yeah. It is so different, and I don't know. I just can't even put it into words, to be honest. You're their biggest protector, their biggest champion, all of these things, and our kids are so little still. We have 18, 19 years of watching them grow to be little adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thinking about the next 19, 20 years, and we
Oh
touched on
gosh.
this, but were there any trade-offs or realities about money and logistics that caught you off guard?
Mm. Um, I think one, the cost of daycare is hard. So like giving and taking in that area is like I don't put as much in my savings now because I'm putting more into daycare, right? I loved banking that money, but it looks a little differently now. I can't save as much, and that's unfortunate, but I'm thankful for the years that I was able to grow such a savings and that will be used towards a nice down payment on a house whenever that might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the memes on Instagram that's like you won't know when my kids are done with daycare, but there will be signs, and it's like
Yeah.
a picture of a yacht. Um, yeah, like it's
Yeah.
real.
It is. And even just him going from, he hasn't switched yet, but going from infant to toddler, I mean, he's technically a toddler at this point, but going from the infant room to the toddler, I'm like, I'm saving $200 a month. Like, what am I going to do with that?
That's so awesome. One of my hardest decisions was like daycare, nanny, home daycare, right? There's so many options. We started in daycare. We touched on that a little bit in my episode, so you can
Mm.
go back. We don't need to rehash that. But and ended up with a nanny who you'll probably see some walk by at some point. Babies are about to wake up. But um,
Oh.
how did you land on daycare, or like what was your decision making process there, knowing the love of your life is in the care of someone
Mhm.
else?
Yeah. Well, he's in daycare for now, but I'll get into why I made that decision first. I made that decision one mostly financially, right?
Yeah.
The financial commitment of what I had seen nannies requesting for a monthly salary, what in Pittsburgh specifically, was insane. I was like, how one, I should retire and become a nanny
Right.
from my day job, but also like, how could people pay this
Yeah.
for one child, let alone multiple children? So God bless you. But I think him being surrounded by other kids all day too, my hope was that he would pick up a bunch of skills from them and then that would just like take off. And then exposing, as much as I hate to say this, exposing him to the germs and getting that out of the way while
Yeah.
he was young also was a big decision maker of mine. But the biggest piece of the puzzle was the financial aspect of it. Now we're 6 months, 7 months in. I don't even know. 7 months into daycare at this point. We've had multiple ear infections. I've had issues with his daycare. Not every room that he's been in, but certain rooms. And so lately I've been like, well, how much does an au pair or a nanny cost these days?
Yeah.
And if I were to have another one, which I don't know if I do or don't, but the cost of sending 2 to daycare,
It's a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, I mean, with twins, you get it, but
Yeah.
at that point, would I be able to work? And we have to work because we're single moms by choice, right? We don't have any fallback unless we hit the lottery. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
I might have to get a nanny.
I looked at getting an au pair originally, especially because dual language is a huge value for me in my kids' education. And again, like our nanny now speaks Spanish, and she's incredible. She's not allowed to quit until they're 18. I will.
I
She
love
knows
that.
this. I keep saying it, but my house like didn't feel conducive to having a second adult live here. There wasn't like a partner, right? Like
Yeah.
this room that I'm in is my office, which would have been like the au pair's room, but then they would have had to share a bathroom with like the kids, and then I didn't have a guest room. Like there was just a lot of things where I was like, it sounds great, but it just logistically doesn't work for my family. So, um,
Yeah.
but
And I
I've heard
think like
great
this,
experiences.
go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, I've heard amazing experiences. Actually, I have an episode coming up with a newborn care specialist,
Okay.
and she is working with another single mom by choice in the Pittsburgh area, and that other single mom by choice has an au pair, and I'm like, how do you get one of those? But I think to your point, logistically, because I'm renting a townhouse right now, I have 2 bedrooms. My office is in this loft area. I have 2.5 bath. There's really nowhere for a au pair to live
Yeah.
here. And then as far as like nannying, I can hear the living room so easily from where my office is. Like Weston would be screaming all day because he hears mommy upstairs. When I buy a house, which will hopefully be in the next year, maybe I'll think differently about that.
Yeah. The decision making that goes in around it is it's hard because you want at the end of the day is the best for your kids, and
Yeah.
it's hard to know what that looks like at any point in time.
Well, not only that, but and I don't know if you experience this too, when you're looking at daycares, I saw so many daycares where there were a few I just walked in and I was like, nope. This is a hard no for me. I would hear the way they were talking to the kids or just the environment as a whole, or like they were so pushy for me to just sign something right away. And a big red flag to me was we don't have a wait list. Whereas like all these other ones that had more popular names had a wait list. And one, he would have been 9 months, I think, when he was officially going to be accepted into that one that had a wait list. And I was like, at this point, he's fine where he's at. But yeah, so searching for a daycare is stressful. I
Yeah.
started at 9 weeks pregnant.
Yeah, I started about the same. I called a lot of places because I knew I was gonna have to have two. It's like spots
Yeah.
per two. So that
Oh, yeah.
eliminated a ton of places. And then yes, the one place that was able to get me in at that point in time didn't have any red flags. Like I went, I toured, I asked the questions about, like my kids aren't going to have a dad. How would you celebrate Father's Day? And they're like, well, are there other important men in their lives, or you can come, right? Like
Yeah.
they were like, we have all types of families. And then again, I think I explained in my episode, like by the time we got there, the leadership had changed, and they were like, yeah, here's a key for their dad, like to get in. I guess like, there's a key tag or whatever. And I was like, we're really gonna rehash this, like.
Yeah.
So,
Red flag.
yeah, that was one of a few things that like strikes, if you will. It was not the only thing, but
Yeah.
yeah, there was another place too that like, oh, you don't have a partner of any kind, and I was like, okay, yep, thank you,
Yeah.
have a nice day.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, there are all kinds of family out there. Why in 2025 are we still asking stupid questions like that?
Yeah, I do have sort of my next set of questions. I'm jumping around a little bit just because I, again, wanted to pick out things that I heard from other episodes. And so I guess this ties in. In your episode, you talked about not telling your family and friends that you were trying, which was like the exact opposite of me. Mine was like a well timed science experiment. Everyone knew 14 days is the test positive or negative. Like, we need to know. Can you talk a little bit about like your decision not to tell folks up front, but then now that you have Weston, like who's in your village now, and do those people show up differently than you expected?
Yeah. The reason not to tell people is because I didn't want to set any sort of expectation that at any point during my journey it would be the best outcome, right? That I would get pregnant. Me knowing that being 38, I wasn't sure if I was capable of getting pregnant. I had never tried before. And so I didn't know I didn't know what that looked like for my fertility journey. And then I also didn't want to be asked a lot of questions throughout the journey because we all know this is an emotionally hard journey to begin with. And after every fail, there's some sort of feelings. And as much as we go into it with an open mind of like, okay, well, whatever happens, happens, we feel like we failed ourselves and whatever else that might look like. And there's just like an emotional low after you get that negative test back. And so I didn't necessarily want to be asked all the questions knowing I was fragile anyway. So I kept a lot of it to myself for that reason specifically. But once I did tell people, my village, there were a lot of people that said they were going to be here for me to support Weston and I. And in whatever way that looked like, people would come in from out of town every few weekends if they could and, help me out. Or I had family members that would say they would be here all the time. Um, I have had maybe a handful of people that I've been able to really rely on for the last year. And one being my mom. She has been here almost every weekend since Weston was born, spending multiple days to help support us. And she was just here this past weekend because he had surgery yesterday. And then I have a really great friend who when I was pregnant, she would drop stuff off and she still like gives us stuff now or always thinks about us or checks on us. I have another friend, I know she listens, but she has been a huge rock for us too. And she, will go to dinner with us and support us in any way possible. But there are other people that did let me down, if I'm being honest. I thought they would be here for us more, and they just haven't showed up in the way that I expected them to. So a reflection of this past year has honestly been I am truly stronger than I ever thought I was capable of being because a lot of the last year has been by myself.
That's I like. I'm tearing up for you because it's
Oh.
well, no, it's so hard, right? Because I
Hmm.
it's hard, and I think it's not guilt, right? It's like compassion, right? Maybe I think is the right
Hmm.
word, that I had people who I knew they were going to show up, but like I'm
Yeah.
going to New York this upcoming week for work, and I have to fly out on Sunday to be there for Monday morning. So like my dad's gonna come down. My aunt's flying in from Boston, which was like a different trip altogether. And
Yeah.
then our other chosen family is gonna like come when my aunt flies out next week. So it's this whole puzzle piece of people who are
Yeah.
like, oh, you have to go to work, right? Like, yes, I have to fly somewhere, and like, could I have gotten out of it? Maybe, but like, again, career driven, trying to keep up with that. And these people
Hmm.
who, like, yes, they're showing up for my kids, but really they're showing up for me to be able to do that as well. And so it's really hard for me to hear, like, when people don't have that because my people go so above and beyond, both chosen and family, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like I wish I lived closer to you to
Oh,
be
thank
able to
you.
like do that, you know, because I
Yeah.
again there's other solo moms in my community where it's like if someone needs something, you're like, how can I help? Like, do you need help picking up your kid from school? Like, I might not be the closest, and it would kind of probably be a pain in the ass, but like if I can help you, you
Right.
know I'm
Do it.
there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think that's a big difference too. And I know we talked about this in your episode is like the Denver community for single moms by choice sounds so much different than the Pittsburgh community for single moms by choice. I even see this in like the Pittsburgh moms making friends or whatever it's called. Like people say they're going to show up for one another, but they don't.
yeah.
So, I mean, but that aside, my own personal friends and family, they're just unfortunately people that have let me down over the last year and I wish that that wasn't the case. And I do wish I had more of a support like you, especially when it comes to wanting to travel. We talked about this too, is, you travel a lot. I would love to travel more. Before I even got pregnant with him, I would travel by myself all the time. It's harder when you have a baby in the mix. And I would love to travel more, but then I'm like, who would go with me to help support? Because my mom doesn't really like to fly. I can't even get her to drive 3 hours down the road. Let's be honest. But like, who else would jump in and do that?
Yeah.
I don't know that I have that. I might have to just bite the bullet and do it myself and and cry along the way.
We'll meet you somewhere. But
Yeah, I love that. There we go.
in all seriousness, so if someone was listening to this in your village,
Hmm.
well, maybe not your village, they are in town,
Yeah.
and you wished that they would
Oh,
show, yeah, sorry, they're downstairs, uh,
oh, you're good.
show up for you in some way, what would that be? Like, what would help and support look like for you for people that are not already there?
Yeah, sometimes it's just, watching Weston during the day so I can meal prep or clean the house. That would be huge. That would be a big weight off my shoulder because I can't, and I just had like a little freak out this weekend. Like, I can't do it all, buddy. When I'm trying to clean the kitchen and you keep coming in, mama, 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 like, I can't do both. Like, I have to maybe not clean the kitchen and just spend time with you and wait for you to go down for your nap. There are times like that where I wish I really did just have somebody to jump in and support in that area or watch him while I went to the gym because I haven't gone to the gym. I work out at home, but even that has taken the back seat most days. So like stuff like that or like you said, if I have to leave town to go to work, which I haven't, thank God, um, who would I leave him with? I have no idea right now. I
Yeah.
really don't. Because he is a handful for my mom sometimes.
Yeah, and
So,
that's again when we start to talk about like work benefits for me, like my first couple of trips last year, I brought them with me
mhm.
because it felt easier. Again, working for a large organization, they have a program called backup care. So you're supposed to use it at home. Like if they're sick, they can't go to daycare, or if your primary caregiver can't make it in. And so you can go and it's a subsidized rate. And so I was going to New York and I just signed up for backup care in New York for the 8-9 hours a day that I had to be in the office for client meetings, and then I would go pick them up. And thankfully my team is super flexible. Like they, not the client dinners, they didn't come to that, but like when it was just team dinners, they came to dinner with us. But it felt like it more manageable to fly across the country with them. Have them
Right.
somewhere
Yeah.
for a few hours, like in the hotel room basically for 8 hours a day, and then still be able to have them the rest of the day versus being away from them for 3 days, right? Like when you factor in travel.
Well, and they got to do things, I'm sure, other than be in the hotel room. Like they could go out and explore if they wanted to. I mean, they were
They
small at
were
that
tiny
point,
at
but
that point, but
yeah.
yeah.
But like now, if you did send them or if you did take them with you, they could go to museums
Yeah.
or whatever it might be.
So yeah, I think that's it's hard to to be able to I guess there's different levels of needs and wants, right? And you talk about, not you, the royal you, of like not everything can always get done. But like
Mm.
personally, like if the kitchen is messy, there's dishes in the sink, like I can't sit still. Like that doesn't make me comfortable. Not doing the dishes like isn't an option for me. So like
Yeah.
when people come over, like if they can do the dishes, like it's little things like that it's yeah, they things go
It
undone
makes a
as a
difference.
mom, but there's
Yeah.
things that go undone and make you not feel at home, that you have to bridge that gap.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, my one friend who's listening, we just had this conversation like 2 weeks ago. I said, you were the only person who asked me when you came postpartum to visit me if there's anything I needed done. And you took my trash out for me. And that made a huge difference because in those newborn days, it's hard, but there are other people who came and didn't offer to do something. And so, like you said, like if the dishes are in the sink, they need done. I have to do it. So sometimes I spent time crying at night washing dishes while my son's sleeping and I'm pumping at the same time because it has to get done because I can't go to sleep without it being done,
Yeah.
you know?
One I read this. There's a book called Twin Sanity. There's a longer title there, but it's about having twins, and she recommends put a list on the refrigerator of the things that people can do postpartum. And they say it in that maternity leave. Now my people just know. If you're coming to my house, here are things that you can do that you don't have to ask, right? Is it take out the trash, empty the dishwasher, fold the kids' laundry. I never ask people to do my laundry. That's just a boundary thing for me.
Yeah.
But the babies have a laundry basket in the laundry room that is just their clothes. So does that need to be done? And so it's hard to do that because boundary setting as a human, let alone a mom, is very, very difficult.
Yes.
But highly recommend. If you're coming over, I want to hold my babies, right? And if you're not here, I have all of this stuff to do and I'm still not holding my babies. But when you're here, you can do all of this other stuff and I can hold my babies. So, boundaries, ladies.
Yeah.
Say what you
Yeah, that's a good call out too, is because I think looking back on Weston's newborn days, because I was so worried about like the next thing I had to do in my checklist is like, okay, well, now I have to pump. So I have to hand him off to my mom, who again has been my biggest village, so she can hold him. And I miss out on the cuddle time because I have to pump and then do all these other things. So I missed out on a lot of cuddle time hindsight because of having to like pass him around so I could get other things done. And my mom now, like, she's great. I don't have to ask her to do most things, but I personally feel like I have to ask permission, right? Is it okay if I go get a shower? I shouldn't have to do that, but I ask her anyway.
Yeah.
Are you okay with him so I can go get a shower?
Yeah. I it's hard, right, to
Yeah,
prioritize yourself. Um
100%.
I guess with that though, are there ways? I know you talked about going to the gym, and I was listening to another episode where you guys were talking about going to the gym and or the lack thereof. How do you prioritize yourself, and what do you do for self care?
Yeah. This is a really hard question because I think I'm still figuring that out. If my child slept through the night, which we're still struggling with, so God bless you for being able to sleep train. I think we're still trying to figure that part out, which I messaged my friend about earlier. I have learned that sometimes my routine now that works best for us in this state of life is that I will drop him off at daycare and come home and do maybe like 20 minutes of some sort of workout. Now that's not every day. If I haven't slept very well the night before, that isn't happening because I'm already like stressed out as it is or anxious or whatever. So I skip that workout. But how do I take care of myself in other ways? I haven't had a facial in a year, so can't. That is in it. I will still get my hair done. That might be about the only thing that I do for self care every few weeks. At night, after he's down, I will spend time on laying on the couch, which again could be doing other things, but that's my
No,
time,
yeah.
and scrolling TikTok. And it's not a full hour, but even watching Real Housewives, that's where I'm at. If one of the two, I don't take very good care of myself. If I'm being honest, the self care is lacking.
Yeah. And I think it's hard, right? Because it's what does it mean for you? Like, what does self care, and is it leaving entirely, or is it sitting on the couch for half an hour scrolling social media? And all of it's okay. We just have to give ourselves permission to do it. But that's the hardest part.
The permission is really difficult. Yeah.
If okay, we went real deep. I'm gonna come back up. Hopefully, maybe it's not deep.
Okay.
Maybe it's lighter. It's all still
Okay.
serious, I guess. One of the things that is a huge decision making, or I guess as women, not women, moms, we decision fatigue is real. In my episode, we talked about deciding on strollers. In your episode, we're going to talk about choosing a donor. And we don't have
Oh,
to
yeah.
you don't have to go into all of the details, but just in the spirit of education of this podcast, right, is there's two types of donors. There's known and unknown donors. So which path did you go on? And then what were some of the high level characteristics that you were looking for in your donor selection?
Yeah. So I went with unknown, and some of the criteria in making that decision was one, you have to know if your CMV status, and mine was negative, so I also went with negative. And that was just recommended to me by my fertility clinic. And I don't even know if that's everybody has to go with negative if you're negative. I don't know the rules behind all of that. And then genetics. Genetics was huge because you don't want to find somebody that has the same that carries the same genetic disorder that you do. And so I think I carried two, donor also carried two. But I factored in things like how old was the donor when he donated the sperm, because they do say older, and there's science I'm sure behind this, and I don't even know how accurate any of this is, but potentially the older that they are, the more risk for autism and other
Okay.
things. And so I went with somebody who was a little bit younger when they donated, and then I looked at, honestly, a huge thing was like looks for me, and
So did they have
and then
adult photos or just the baby photos? Oh, okay.
both,
So my bank
yes.
only had baby photos, not adult
See,
photos.
I signed up for California, and then I was like, I don't like that I can't see their adult
Yeah.
photos. I think I also signed up for like Seattle and Virginia and felt the same way. I was like, man, I can't see any of their adult photos. I don't know what my child potentially might look like when he's older. But then I went with height.
Okay.
A big thing was
Okay.
height. I'm 5'1". I did not, like a gut feeling was I was going to have a boy. And so I didn't want him to potentially be short. And
That's fair.
so
It's a hard world out
I
there.
wanted to, I know, right? In the world of dating, I know that women can be very picky about dating people who are under a certain height. I'm one of those people. And so I wanted to go with somebody who was on the taller side to give him a chance at being more successful in the dating world, and then also sports. Those were the biggest supporting reasons behind my decision in choosing a sperm donor.
Wild, right? Because you think about
Yes.
as couples, like you're picking a human, but
Mhm.
oftentimes they're not doing the genetic testing, the blood testing, all of these things that I think maybe depending on the fertility clinic that you go to may or may not be required, but from my understanding, most of these fertility clinics require the genetic testing, all of that, to increase the likelihood of, viable humans and in humans. I don't want to say without disabilities. I wouldn't have the statistics to like throw that out there, but just increase the likelihood of a good quality of life, whatever that means for folks. But then you get down into like one of the like my friends I was talking about who like really let me ask all of the questions about donor conceived kids. They were like, yeah, there's a couple of donors who are like, well, I think I have good genes and I want to spread that in the world. And that's like that was an automatic X for me of like,
You're like,
yeah, that's
nope.
straight out of like one of the Netflix documentaries. Like I want kids, but I don't need like the perfect man. I had a similar
Right.
process to you, right, which was picking a bank that aligned with sort of my values. I wanted identity release at 18. I didn't really care about adult photos, but then the medical decisions, bipolar depression. My mom had bipolar depression, so I didn't want that as a factor. Need
Yeah.
both sides,
You don't
right?
want somebody who also carried
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Mhm.
And then diabetes is huge on both sides of my family. So again, just sort of trying to reduce the likelihood. But the thing
Yeah.
that got me was he was goofy and curious about the world. And I was like, I want that. And then I see it in my son now. He's so goofy, and both of them are just, they have to know how everything works. It's fun to see, without
There
knowing who this person is, those characteristics of this profile that come to life.
Mhm. Yeah, it is such a wild process, and they actually say that you know more as a single mom by choice and or same-sex couple going into this and choosing a sperm donor than you do in a relationship with somebody and having a child with
Yeah.
them. You know more about genetics and blood type and all the other things than you would ever know about the person you're married
Yeah.
to.
Which is
Hmm.
crazy to me, I guess. I mean, you'd think you
Yeah.
would, but I don't know. I guess if you're in a couple and you have this, if you have all the information we have, would it change how you look at that person? Maybe how you would have kids with them, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's an existential question that we don't need to get into here, but
Yeah, because the next person you go into a relationship with, if you still want to have kids, if you're in that stage of life, do you want a whole background check of like all their genetics before you decide on a kid with them?
yeah,
Maybe.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. Makes you think differently after you go this
Yeah.
route.
That's a great transition. I did photos the other day with a solo mom. She's a photographer here in Denver, and we were talking about like dating and all of
Oh.
that. Like I don't have the energy to date first and foremost.
Hmm.
My kids do sleep through the night, but like there's still only so many hours in the day. Um, are you interested in dating? Is that something that's like in your 5 year plan, or kind of like for me, I'm hoping I meet someone at soccer practice someday. I'm not trying to get on apps or anything, but
Yeah.
what does a future partnership look like for you as far as dating or any of that?
Yeah, I think I've tried the apps in the past, so I'm with you. I wouldn't go that route in the future. At least I hope I wouldn't. But I am very open to dating. I think we are still too in the thick of it to want to consider dating. There's a lot of fear that comes with having a man who's not Weston's father come into our lives and what that might look like because the world is very crazy and you just never know who you can
Yeah.
trust. But also, my crime junkie mind again goes to places. Um, but but I am very open to it, and even going through this process, I one thing that I had always told myself is love. You can find love at any
Yeah.
time, right? There is no timeline or deadline on that, but becoming a mom comes with a deadline, and that's where my focus was for the last few years and even now. So I do want to enter into a relationship at some point, maybe 5 years, if we're in that soccer phase. That actually sounds like a great idea, meeting a soccer dad. as long as he's
Yeah,
single.
yeah. Definitely needs to be
But
single.
right. But yeah, I mean, I definitely haven't closed the doors completely on finding love in the
Yeah.
future. It would be great to spend my time with a guy again.
Yeah. We were talking about,
Mhm.
like, in our conversation, it's like there's like two things that can be true in that I I would love to just like snuggle on the couch with someone and watch a movie, but I also like
Yes.
don't need someone to weigh in on parenting decisions. And like when you're dating someone, like at what point do they start to have an influence on your kids? And I'm like, I don't need that in my life right now. Like I find so much like power and like I guess enthusiasm about being a solo mom that having someone to come in and be like, oh no, they actually have a stepdad. It feels like it just
Yeah.
I lose some of that power that I have as a solo mom now, which I don't know if that's selfish or not,
Yeah.
but that's just how I feel.
No, I can relate. I think the only thing that maybe crosses my mind for down the road is like I can teach Weston some sports, but I can't teach him all the sports or like all the roles to all the sports. So maybe that would be great. Like where my brother-in-law and my dad and other people fall short, maybe that'd be great to have somebody there to help him learn some things. The decision making, I don't really want to share that with
Yeah.
anybody right now. It would be great to cuddle up on the couch with somebody and or be able to sleep while somebody
Right?
else holds him through the night.
Yeah. Physical touch that's not a 1-year-old might be nice.
I know. Yeah, yeah. I'll take
Right?
it.
Looking forward again, in the maybe a little bit of a pivot from dating, but if other women are listening to this and debating whether or not to tell people they're trying or to even try, right? I guess maybe there's different parts there. If they're debating whether or not to try, what advice would you give?
I would say as much as it might be scary financially or there's some sort of fear holding you back from doing it, you're not sure if you're capable of being able to do it by yourself, do it anyway. Because if you have a village or in some cases where your villages fall a little short, you will be surprised at how much you are capable of doing by yourself. And so just do it anyway because it is worth it. The gift is worth every moment where you question
Yeah,
yourself.
for sure. Again, in my research, when I was listening to the episode the other day, someone had done like 12 IUIs, which is an insane number to me. I did one and got pregnant, so I know I am like totally an outlier. But from the financial perspective, when I went to the fertility clinic, I was like, does my insurance cover it? How does that work? Like, she was like, well, you've been trying for the last 6 months, right? Like with the winky face. And I was like, well, I
Yeah.
haven't dated in like a year. She's like, oh, so you broke up recently. Because the way
Yeah.
that insurance works is there is literally infertility due to the male factor. I do not have
Hmm.
a male in my life, therefore I can't get pregnant, which is a type of infertility. If you're curious about
Yeah.
whether or not your insurance would cover it, and it's probably by state and different insurances, but male factor infertility is a thing, and I don't want to say it's the loophole for solo moms or lesbian couples, I think, where there is not a male present, but understanding all those little things makes some of those decisions easier too.
Yeah. And it's actually really cool that your fertility clinic did that.
Yeah, and I think that's again, I think it was the same episode where the inconsistencies of we're gonna keep
Hmm.
going down this road and then you try one thing a little bit different is so like the more information that you can take in and the tips and tricks that you can take from other people to say, hey, I don't know if my insurance will cover this, but I've heard about male factor infertility. Is that applicable here? Or no, I only know people who got pregnant or solo moms through IVF. Is IUI an option for me? Understanding the options, I think
Right.
that's my advice for people.
Yeah, and I think it was the same episode too, where maybe you have to try a different sperm
Yeah.
because that sperm isn't working, or maybe you just have to try a different clinic because their methods aren't working for you, or they're not open to it, or they might think you're not capable of getting pregnant for X, Y, and Z. And if you switch to a different clinic, maybe you'll have better luck there. I don't know. And one thing I actually didn't realize until I think somebody in the single mom by choice group the other day may have posted this, but your ovulation changes each month. Like your the actual date. So like it might be day 19 this month where it could be like day 15 next month. I didn't realize that until somebody had said that. That it's not always consistent. So that could be also a reason why some women are not having success, especially with IUI. IVF is a little different, but yeah.
Yeah, I did. I was having this conversation with a friend. I feel like when you're a solo mom and the nature of how we got pregnant is inherently public, right? When you
Right.
have a heterosexual couple, right, you know they're having sex. That's how they're getting pregnant. But I was talking to her because apparently I know all things fertility now.
Add that
Yeah,
to your resume.
I don't know how that would go over on LinkedIn, but I was like, yeah. So I got my IUD removed in September of 22, I guess. Tracked my ovulation for a while, or I didn't do anything. Just I had been on birth control for so long, let my body try to
Yeah.
re-regulate, and then started testing the LH levels to see what if there were any patterns. I didn't need to do it every month because I wasn't trying to get pregnant every month. And then once I decided to do it, sort of I backed out of a timeline based on a trip to Peru. Actually, it was my best friend's 40th birthday, and I was like, well, I don't want to be super pregnant in Peru, but it turns out like being
Right.
pregnant in your first trimester and nauseous every day in Peru is equally as terrible as probably being like 5 months pregnant in Peru. But
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
um, but then I tested closer to when I was trying to get pregnant. So for me, it was all within the same year. So I don't know how much that changes. But again, things that you don't think to think about unless you are talking to other people.
Right. You're in this
Yeah.
journey. Hmm.
Um, awesome. I think we're close to time here. When you
Okay.
picture the next phase of motherhood, which for you is really probably walking and talking, still.
We're there. Well, we're
Oh,
walking. We're not
okay. The last
talking
time
yet.
we talked to
Yeah.
you was just a couple of steps.
Oh, I know. His first birthday. He started walking that
Oh, that's
night.
so exciting. So the next phase, whatever, however we want to define that, what excites you most?
I think the talking more so I better understand what frustrates him, what he needs. I can imagine that it is hard to want something or not want something, and people don't understand. I think to better understand him through his words would be great, and I'm excited about
Yeah,
that.
it's my kids are a year and a half tomorrow. I think we talked, they had just turned 17 months, which is crazy. The month flew by. They sign.
I
They
know.
don't speak really. They're speech delayed. That's a whole thing. But they're
I
signs
get it.
for more
Yeah.
and water and milk. Like, it's so
Mhm.
funny. But yes, I can't wait for words to be able to like truly understand emotion more. Because articulating
Yeah.
wants and needs at the most simplistic level is one thing, but to be able to support
Mhm.
them, like when they really don't feel good, or like if they're teething, it's hard to articulate. My mouth hurts, things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I'm excited for
Yeah.
that for you. I think we're probably parallel pathing speech a little bit.
I know. Yes. Yeah, he'll say a little bit. Mama is a lot more common now. And then he'll say,
Oh,
oh,
yes.
yeah, which I don't know about the
Yeah.
kids, but one thing he has started doing as of yesterday, which I thought was so funny, is if he knocks something over, he'll be, I'm like,
Uh-oh.
where did you learn this? Where we're pointing now. So that actually helps a little bit. And we're getting there.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you
Yeah.
today. I know it was all over the place, but I hope that,
I
as
loved it.
folks get to listen to this, they have a deeper understanding of you and your journey, and it helps really connect because I think you and I hit it
Yeah.
off, and it's been fun, and hope we can continue to inspire other women because we're pretty cool.
Thank you for doing
Yeah.
this. This was so much fun.
Um,
Thank you all so much for listening to this special Flip the Script episode. I hope that this gives you a little bit more insight into the person who is behind the mic. But trust me, there's still so much more to my story. I'll be sharing more in future episodes about my pregnancy journey, the challenges I face with postpartum preeclampsia and anxiety, and as you've heard me mention several times before, our ongoing sleep issues this past year. Life has been full of chaos, the beautiful, the messy, and the real kind. And I'm grateful to have all of you along for the ride. Thank you again to Kristen for leading today's conversation, and to all of you for being part of this amazing community. Until next time, keep choosing the chaos and